Hey YouTube, in this lesson we're going to get into the mixer section because as you may have noticed, this little jam we've got going on sounds like shit. And we got to make that a whole lot less messy sounding. And we've got another problem here. As you'll notice, the clipping light over here is constantly on. And in software that's bad. That's real bad because there's nowhere for that extra volume to be going. There's all kinds of great division and rounding and floating points and stuff that can describe what's going on there. But basically, whenever the red light is on, you are going beyond the limit of what can actually be recorded. So it's going to try to round down the sound, and that sounds like clicks and pops and all kinds of nasty. In hardware, you've got an overhead that you can work with, so any of you that are coming from hardware might be thinking, oh, that's okay, I can push that just a little bit. But no, in software, there is no overhead really. So as soon as you're hitting that clip, you are going to start getting these clicks and pops that are just going to ruin your song. So when you see the red light on, you've got a problem, and when you've got the red light on constantly, you've got a real problem. So we've got to lower the volume on all of this. Alright, it's starting to calm down a little bit, but now you're hearing that's really quiet. And the way to hear it a little clearer is to use your headphone volume controls. That way you can hear what's going on and you're not maxing out your audio output. So we're still clipping a bunch. Let's go through and individually lower everything to make sure that we find the source of our clipping. So we got our lead there. It's not clipping. Here's our kick. Oh, it's clipping a little bit. Bring that down a bit. Oh, our snare is clipping a whole bunch. Oh, that's clipping a little. Now, as I'm listening to this, I'm listening for how everything is working with one another. So, as I'm bringing everything down, our bass is really, really quiet now and getting drowned out by everything. So I want to continue to lower elements so that the bass is heard without clipping. Sounds like our bass drum is still a little too high. So now I've got all of the various elements sounding together at about the right levels that I want to be playing with. You know, I'll fine-tune it from there. But I'm still clipping just a little bit. So instead of trying to go through and retweak everything down some more, I can use the master level here and bring everything down just a bit. And now once again that's a little quiet, so I'm going to crank up my headphones, and now I can hear it better. So now it's sounding pretty good. I'm going to hit the all mute / solo off thing here to bring everything out of solo. And you'll notice that everything is panned into the center. And typically the only thing you want in the dead center is maybe your bass drum and a lead vocal or anything that you're trying to emphasize. So for this, I'm going to leave the bass drum, which is our channel 2 here, and our lead here in the center, and everything else is going to get moved around left to right to find a place where it's going to sit nicely together. So let's solo our drums alone here. And I already know, okay, channel 2 staying in the center. I'm going to move my snare over to the right a little. And now I'm going to take my hats and move them to the left a little. So I've got different frequencies going to different sides, right? I'm going to take this rim shot sounding sound and put it over with the snare. So now I'm making what we call shelves. I'm saying over here on the left side, I have the higher frequency of the hi-hat. So when I bring in the bass, I know over here on the left, I've got plenty of room for the low end. So I'm going to shelve this over to the left here with the hi-hat. So now I've got the high and the low on the left side pretty much filled out. Now I'm going to take this melody here, and since that's a higher frequency, I'm going to take that over to the right where I've got my snare and rim shot. And you can listen to that and hear, okay, how are those individual items sounding? You know, you can think, okay, does the snare need to go a little bit to the right? Not that it just doesn't sound good there, so I'm going to move it over back to the left a little. And I like how that's sounding. And I really like to do this once I've got all the various sounds that I know I'm going to be using. I want to put them all in their place so that when I'm playing, it's going to sound as good as it possibly can before I get to my final master, which would be going through this whole process again and listening to it on different devices. And that's one of the greatest things about working on the iPad is you can just run around your house and plug the iPad into all kinds of different inputs and listen to it on different speaker setups and, you know, different headphones. I actually did the final mastering of my track Abrasives and Lubricants sitting in my car, listening on my car audio. And that was very helpful because on my monitors and headphones, the snare was sounding good in the stereo spectrum, but in my car, it was sounding a little too weak. So I had to re-synthesize that whole part and then, you know, find a new place for it to sit in the mix. And it ended up sounding great in all the other listening environments. So now we've got it panned left and right for everything. You'll notice on our bass, though, if I just solo that, you can just hear that that's doing some of its own panning. And the reason for that is automation. If we take a look at our sequencer here, you see the pan here is going back and forth. And I don't really want it to be doing that. And an easy way to fix that is to just hit the record thing and hold the XY pad here in the center. And now the only thing that's giving it any direction as to which way to be going, left or right, is the mixer. But that moving back and forth left to right can be an interesting effect. It lets the sound kind of move around and evolve a little. So let's do that to the main synth part. And you'll notice on this XY pad, we need to tell it which assignments we want it to be doing, because it can be assigned to any of these things here. We got our parameters and our voltages, and then our volume and pan. And the volume on this template is set to go down here at the 4, 9, and 14, and 16. And that's creating, you know, these little gaps of silence. So I want to leave that. I just want to play with the panning and have it going left to right a little bit as it's playing. So I'm going to tell my Y to be off and my X to be pan. But as I hit play here, you notice as soon as it gets into the second pattern, it switches back to parameter 1 and 2. So it's saving those assignments per pattern. So we need to go through and switch over to pattern 2 and tell it to do the same thing here. I want X to be pan and Y to be off. And don't worry about this thing up here that's saying now that bar 1 is on pattern 2, because as soon as you hit play, it's just going to listen to what the song pattern mode is telling it. So it went right back to pattern 1 being on bar 1. So let's change now pattern 3 to the same. And now when I hit record, I'm going to record in a little left to right action here. And while I'm doing that, I'm trying to listen to the pattern here so that I go to the right and to the left, and then when I get to the end of pattern 3, I'm getting close to the center, so it starts back up into that loop again at the same position in the center. So with everything we've been working on so far, you could take this template and just start making your own song. And I highly encourage you to do that. To do the homework, get in here, play around with it, and I'll take you further on down into how to design your own sounds in the next lesson.